Most sales advice completely falls apart when you're selling to wealthy people. And the reason is most sales training is made for the masses, the people who are selling $50 products, $100 products, $500 products, even a $1,000 product. And so, I've been very fortunate that over the last, 3 years especially, but really over the last seven, I've almost exclusively only sold to wealthy people. I've sold products ranging from $100,000 to $1 million in the coaching and consulting space. And what I've found is wealthy people do not buy the same way less affluent people buy. When you're, pitching somebody who maybe they don't have as much money, even if you're selling B2B, sometimes you might talk to somebody and they're doing 500,000 in revenue a year, but 400 grand of that is going out the door to take care of client fulfillment, to take care of employees, to take care of health benefits, and other business costs. A lot of times businesses don't even have a marketing budget until they're doing over $1 million to $2 million in revenue a year. And so if you want to be incredibly effective as a salesperson when it comes to selling to wealthy people, there's a few things that you need to be aware of. Otherwise, you're going to find that you get somebody who's actually got money on the phone and you're going to blow it 9 times out of 10. Because here's the main point you should know about wealthy people. They value time over money 7 days a week. They're extremely busy people. They don't have time for, BS. They don't have time to listen to somebody's spiel or shtick about their product. They're really not even interested in you. They're not interested in the product. What they're really interested in is, can I trade the money that I'm making here to get back some of the time that I need here so I can spend it with friends, with family, doing other things I'm interested in, scaling the business. There's a phrase that gets thrown around in the business space a lot about working on the business instead of in the business. The way that wealthy people do that is by spending. They spend money so that they cannot be an employee in the business, but they can kind of be the grand architect, the visionary, the person that's going to take it to the next level. And so what you have to understand is whatever kind of script you've used in the past to sell products ranging from $100 to, maybe even a couple $1,000s, you need to take that script and throw it in the trash because it's not going to work. So how do you really leverage time, number one? And number two, how do you demonstrate to somebody who might be making a lot more money than you that they should pay attention? And there's a couple of really key things to understand when you're actually talking to somebody who's wealthy. Number one, they have already been through hundreds, if not thousands of sales presentations in their life. As soon as they smell that you're just another sales guy or another sales girl just doing another sales presentation, their brains are going to completely disengage and they're going to be working on other stuff in the background. So you need to be sure that you're showing up as a person, not as a salesperson. And ideally, you're showing up as an authority. You're showing up as somebody that they believe is competent, that you are capable of helping them, and that the time you're spending on the sales call is already helping them. And so this is one of those things that it's kind of like the chicken and the egg. People are like, well, I want to sell rich people, but what do I tell them? And it's like, well, you have to be smart enough to interest wealthy people because in general, wealthy people are going to be higher IQ. And the only way to do that is by being a constant student. The fastest way is to have a mentor, have somebody that has already been in business for 20 years, that they've already been through all the ups and downs of economic downturns and booms and busts and all this. So the fastest way is to have a mentor. Now, if you're just starting out, you might not have the kind of money or the kind of skills that are going to interest somebody in actually mentoring you that's worth a damn. And when I say worth a damn, I mean they're actually high-level successful. I've had a handful of mentors over the last 10 years. I've been very fortunate. 2 of those are worth over $1 billion. One of them has done over 900 million in revenue in a single year, and then another one has a portfolio that cash flows about 60 million a year. And if he sold it all, he could exit for about $800 million. So I found people very quickly, and I was hungry. I was like, hey man, bring me in, let me help you out. I can sell, I can do this, I can like write your guys' copy, I can do this. So I came to the table knowing they're going to have a hard time finding people that are consistently capable of closing deals. They're going to have a hard time finding people who can consistently write copy for their advertising, for their content that's going to generate leads and sales for them. So since I focused on building that skill set, I knew I could drive a lot of value because I could drive a lot of money for them. Now, when you're first starting out, that's going to be a little bit harder. So you need to make sure, if you notice behind me, there's a bookshelf. There's another one over here you can see the corner of. Across from me, there's a bookshelf. I have another bookshelf that's about as big as this one in my bedroom. And then in my closet, I have a tote full of books. And what I would recommend for you guys is don't just buy the New York Times bestsellers. Look at ask ChatGPT, who are the 20 most successful business people of the past 100 years that have either written a biography or have had a biographer that was close to them that wrote a book about their journey. Start with the best. Do not waste your time. Well, I've got a friend that's made $1 million. That guy doesn't know enough. He hasn't been through enough. If you had bought Bitcoin in 2016 and held on to it for a few years, you'd be a millionaire. Does that mean that you're the smartest person in the world? No, it means you made one good decision. You could erase one good decision with one bad decision. In fact, you could erase 20 good decisions with one bad decision. So you have to start at the top because it's the only way to be sure that it was skill and not luck. So if you can't get an in-person mentor, somebody like I traveled the world with one of my mentors for the last 3 years. If you can't get that yet, start with the biographies of the people who have been the most successful. And I mean the most successful. There's a book across from me right now called Titan about John D. Rockefeller, arguably one of the most successful business people in the history of the world. That's a good person to learn about. There's another book right next to it about the Vanderbilts. Vanderbilt was like the first real tycoon of America. So study the most successful people. And the reason why is because you'll start to notice and you'll start to learn the frameworks and the trends and the ideas that allowed them to be successful. And we live in a cyclical world. The economy goes up, then it goes down. Then it goes up, then it goes down. There's an interesting book I read. If you look at my YouTube channel, it's actually in my YouTube channel, called Extraordinary Delusions and the Popular Madness of Crowds. It talks about all of these different times over human history where people have gotten caught up in this hysteria about something and people have gone completely broke. It talks about the tulip craze, how at one point in Europe, everybody was like buying these tulips. Like all of a sudden there was multiple colors because at that time in the country where this started, there had only been one, and somebody started bringing in these other colors. People started mortgaging their houses to buy tulips. By the way, does that sound familiar? This just happened over the last few years with Bitcoin. It's just happened with a lot of other cryptocurrencies. People did really silly things that put their whole lives at stake. Remember what I said? You could erase 20 good decisions with one bad decision. So when you're talking to wealthy people, you need a rich pool of knowledge that you can pull information out from that allows you to demonstrate authority above and beyond where you might be currently with regards to your finances. Now, the second thing is when wealthy people are talking to a salesperson, they know you're a salesperson. So you have to make sure that even though they know you're a salesperson, they feel like they're spending their time wisely. And the way you do that is by having a very structured sales process. When I go through a sales call with people, I have normally it's here on my desk. I have an index card. On that index card, I have 9 things. I strategically go 1, 2, 3, all the way to 9 through that list of 9 things before I start even considering pitching them on whatever product or service that I have. And in that process, I'm also assessing, hey, is this person, like very risk adverse? Or is this person somebody who they don't mind a little bit of risk? They're talking about they went, skydiving last week, and next week they're going scuba diving, and they're doing, high speed downhill skiing and stuff. Or are they like, yeah, usually we take about a year before we make any really big financial decisions. So you want to make sure that your process is set up. And I did a video on this. I'll share the link for that video in the description in case you guys want to see this. But I walk you guys through my exact process for how I sell $100,000 coaching offers. And you guys would be shocked. It's not like that crazy. I don't have a bunch of word tracks. I don't have all these slick sayings and things where I'm like, oh, well, like if they say this, I say this. I'm literally just a real person with a good process that produces results consistently going through that process. It's the same as if you want to get in better shape. You count your calories and your macros. You exercise enough to burn enough calories to be in a deficit. You get good sleep. And you don't mess it up. It's like you just follow the steps. It's the same thing with the sales process. But when it comes to wealthy people, the big difference is you have to come across as an authority right out of the gate. And then the final thing to remember here is wealthy people speak differently and they think differently. And I want to give you guys a couple of examples because you'll notice that wealthy people use different words. When people talk about buying things, wealthy people talk about acquiring things. When people talk about something that's making them money, wealthy people say assets or portfolio. Another thing that wealthy people do is they don't talk about money, they talk about capital. They're either raising it or they're investing it. And, a lot of sales trainers, especially sales trainers that'll tell you, oh, I'll teach you how to sell a $10,000 product or $50,000 product. They like to try and use those to make it sound like you should talk that way. I'm going to tell you guys the dumbest statement you can make about getting somebody to buy. Well, yeah, John, it's just a small investment of $10,000 and then we're going to do this and this and this. That's what a salesperson sounds like. I'm going to tell you guys the easiest way to just reframe what you're saying. Hey, John, look, we just got to get this initial 10K taken care of, and then our team's going to start doing XYZ in the background. Speak plainly. Now, if you're asking them about their cash flow or their capital, use those words. But when you're telling them that you want them to make an investment, you should sound plain. So when it's about them, fancy words. When it's about you asking for the money, simple words. The reason why is because when you start saying, well, it's just an investment of, what do people think about when it comes to investments? I need to make smart investments. Guess what that means? They probably have to think about it, which means that's what they're going to tell you. Oh, let me think about it. Can you send me an email with a couple of, can you give me just a breakdown of this? When you say investment, it sounds like a big deal. When you say, hey, look, we just got to get this 10K taken care of and then we can get started, I'm minimalizing the money. I'm like, it's not a big deal. Let's just do this 10K real quick so we can get on with everything else you have on your plate and I have on my plate. So the only time to use capital, investment, cash flow, reinvesting, strategy, stuff like that is when it's about them. You want them to feel like you're acknowledging, hey, look, I get you know what you're doing. I also know what I'm doing, and that's why I'm using this kind of language. But when you're asking for the money, you always need to simplify it because the last thing you want is for people to think too much when you're asking them to pay. Even wealthy people, if they feel like they've got to think a lot when you ask about the money, they're not going to buy. They will put it off just like anybody else. So if you're talking to them about revenue, ask them about revenue. If you're talking about net margins, say, hey, look, what are your margins like? What do you guys net out of the $1 million a year you guys are doing? And then when you're asking about their how much they have that they can spend, you need to ask questions that get them to tell you as if it's just a normal thing. Hey, look, you guys are netting about, $400,000 a year. I mean, are you guys is that the free cash flow, like the bank account's going up that much every year, or are you guys reinvesting it? Are you spending it to, go to the French Riviera? Like what's the situation with the bank account? Is it going up 400 grand a year? Is it staying flat? What's happening there? So you need to understand that the reason why so many people struggle when it comes to selling to wealthy people is they think they can use the script that they use to sell $1,000 products. You cannot. Wealthy people have heard those scripts thousands of times. They hate them. It's annoying and it's a waste of their time. And that's like the cardinal sin of talking to wealthy people is if you start making them feel like they're wasting their time, they will bounce. And then you have to understand the language that they use. When you're asking about revenue, ask about revenue. Ask about their net margin. Ask about their free cash flow. If they're raising capital, ask them, are you raising capital? Are you raising debt? Are you raising equity? What do the debt notes look like? Like, what are you guys paying out on that? What is the cost to acquire those investors who are putting the capital in? If they're raising equity, how much of the company are you giving away? What is the most recent valuation on this raise? Is this an A round? Is this the B round? Learn the language, because just little things like that will allow you to demonstrate to the person you're trying to sell that you know what you're talking about. This isn't your first time around the block. You've been in the game. You've seen some stuff. You might even be able to help them. And then when it comes to the final part of the sale, when you're actually asking for the money, make it sound easy. It should be fast, easy, and fun. Hey, cool thing here, we just got to get the initial 10K taken care of, and then we're going to take this all over for you. You don't have to do anything. To be honest, I'm going to send you a little box of chocolates. Just enjoy the chocolate while we do what we do best. So if you guys haven't done so yet, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Like I said, that index card that I use for my calls, I did a full video breaking down every single part of my sales process using that index card. The link for that's in the description. And if you guys are looking for like a full system on how to just get absolutely nutso good at high ticket sales, there's a link in the description below. It's stealthcloser.com/start. I put together like a 23 modules training on everything from how to open the call, how to handle objections before they ever even come up, how to ask for the close multiple ways, the different ways of like actually talking to people, the different ways of approaching different kinds of sales calls, meaning like inbound leads, outbound cold calls. It literally covers everything. But just check those out. By the way, that index card video will help a lot of you guys a ton with regards to getting just significantly better at going through high ticket sales calls without having to spend a ton of time learning stuff.